These were water people. I mean, for at least 3 generations, these had been water people. This is how you learned how to live, was with the water. Okay? That's no small thing to learn how to do that. But they did. Generations of them did learn how to do that. So when the levees came up and the water was no longer allowed to spread, it had to do something. It went up. These people, thankfully for them, on their own part, they already lived in houseboats for the most part. So it wasn't that huge a transition for them to take their houseboat, move it someplace that was not subject to the flooding that was encroaching more and more every season. Well, where was that? That was either in the levees to the northwest or the levees to the southeast. The people in Hog Island moved to the southeast for the most part. Why they picked Myette Point, I don't know. But it was accessible, for one thing. It had access with a canal to the levee. You had to be able to get your houseboat from out here to the levee. Eventually, you knew you had to cross the levee with your houseboat. No small thing, but you had to do that. All right? So they did. Wonderful stories to me. I wouldn't not have liked to have had to do it, but they did. They moved their houseboats from Hog Island to Myette Point. Where's Myette Point? Here, right here. They moved from here all the way. There was no land here at the time. Okay, all this didn't exist. This was water. But they moved from here to here. At that point, there was nothing particularly satisfactory about that as a civilized location. But they could reach the levee by water with their houseboats. And they did. They moved into this little canal right here. We called it Myette's Canal. And it was a big deal to make that jump. So they tied up their houseboats along the side of Myette's Canal, just like it was another community, but still inside the basin. Well, the water kept coming. They couldn't stay like that. So, one by one, and these people were individually industrious. Does that make any sense? They were highly capable people. They could not, most of them, speak English very well, and they couldn't read or write, hardly any of them. But they were highly skilled people, surviving people. So, one by one, in this little canal, Myette's Canal I'm talking about, they moved their houseboats to the edge of the levee, which was right there. And they winched their houseboats over the levee with mules. They hooked onto them with chain, and they ground those houseboats with winches up to the top of the levee and down the other side on top of the barge. They were still on the barge when they did this, okay? I'm telling you a story that took a while to happen. It's not just this quick. But once they got on the backside of the levee here at Myette Point, some 28 of them, families, they had no use for that houseboat anymore, for that barge, but it was valuable. It was virgin cypress. So they winched their houseboats up off the barge. They took the barge out, broke them up, used it, and sold the lumber, and lived from that point on jacked up houses on wooden pillars. All right? Still the same, 3-room houseboats. No water. No electricity. No facilities that we think of as necessary. But that's where they chose to live, from Hog Island to Myette Point. Some of them chose to live together. Like I say, 28 families that I have recorded as who they are and where they were lived there. Others dispersed to other places if they wanted to. But it was a hell of a lot easier to come down current to this spot than was to cross the Atchafalaya Basin to the other side. So they did. They settled for the most part at Myette Point.